to episode 3 of the More Than Roommates podcast. I am Dan here with my roommate Graham. How are you doing?
What's up, guys? I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It is Saturday night. We've had a very productive day today. We went to the gym.
Yep.
We went to the store, which is my least favorite activity to do ever. And we looked at flooring for the basement.
Yep. I think we found, we made progress. At
Yeah,
least,
So we talked about it a little bit last time, but so this basement flooded, and so the section that you
Partially,
see is the part that is in good shape, but literally the rest of the room, the carpet's ripped up, the walls are down because
we had
lot
a kind of like a French drain, kind of like put in, I guess, around the perimeter of the basement and a sump pump.
yeah.
So, it keeps it dry.
So now that it's not going to flood again, now we have to get the walls put up, new flooring, and all that stuff. So it's going to be fun. Looking forward to doing that. But how's everything going?
Good. Just chilling.
How are you feeling now that we're 2 episodes in? This is episode 3. How are you feeling? Feeling more comfortable with this?
Yeah, I feel good.
Good. I think you're doing good.
Yeah.
I've had, of course, a little experience doing this on camera, so this is new for you, but you're doing great. You're keeping the conversations going. So what we wanted to talk about today, we're getting into a little bit more of our relationship, but we want to talk about kids.
Oh, kids.
Kids, I know. It's something
The
that...
K-word.
The K-word, children. But it's something that we get asked about a lot. Do we want to have kids? What is our plan? And I think that is a genuine question to ask. But
little different, as a gay couple. Obviously, like, neither one of us is going to wake up pregnant one day.
Exactly.
Like, it's not going to be something that we,
it just happens.
Naturally.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of planning.
For sure.
You really have to be analytical about it, for sure.
Yeah, and this is something that we kind of check in with each other every few months, every year or so, just because I think it's important to talk about, make sure that your partner knows their voice is heard if this is something that they want. So how are you feeling? Do you want kids? Where are you at with this?
I have gone back and forth with wanting kids. I have, many reasons, like aside from, I think you could get some kind of joy, being a parent. It could be very rewarding, like raising a child and, giving them everything they need and seeing them grow and develop into their own character. To some extent, though, like, even though I'm 32 going on 33, maybe I feel like I'm not ready. I don't know. It's just one of those, like, debates where I go back and forth, and I've also thought, I'm my mom's only biological son, too, and, like, I would love to give her a kid. I don't know if, her opinion has changed on it. I think that was kind of what she wanted, I think.
That's what most mothers want to become a grandparent.
Yeah, but at the same time, she's never pressured me, and, we've had full, in-depth conversations, she's
That's good.
From a different generation, and she talked about how her life, that she chose was kind of like what her parents wanted, and I think she's pretty progressive in that, I guess, since... she wants me to be happy, I think, which is really cool.
And I get what you mean, because I can get the sense of that too, but it's like you don't want to have a child for someone else's happess, that would never end up well. And I know it's, and I would say, so yeah, I'll let you finish your thought, but how...
Yeah, other than that, I mean, like, obviously, like, I'm a finance numbers guy, like, I honestly don't know, like... what it would cost, you know what I mean, to, like, even just have a kid, I don't know if this is, like, kind of a touchy subject, like, I'm all for, like, IVF, I think that's amazing, but, being a gay couple, like, having, like, employer-sponsored help, you know what I mean, to have a kid, I don't think it really exists, as far as I know, like, I think that would be a cost that we would probably just have to bear, I don't even know how much it costs. Is it 6 figures? Is it
I figured we would
more?
Look that up actually on the podcast after we talk about
we
this,
should.
what the price of a surrogacy. And as far as my thoughts on having a kid is I'm not opposed to it. It really depends on the day. Some days I'm like, oh, I'd really want a kid. Other
Yeah.
days I'm like, I like the lifestyle that we live.
Yeah, we're like millennials and you're like cusp Gen
Gen
Z,
Z,
or maybe
yeah.
you are Gen Z. I don't know if it's
I'm the
determined or not,
first year
but
of Gen Zs, but
yeah.
yeah,
It's
it's
just we're in a different, society, and if you look back historically, like the one man or head of the household could, afford a life for an entire family, but it just seems like everything is so expensive right now, and a little scary maybe too, like with all the spy balloons. I don't want to like throw that in there, but it's just like you kind of got to think about that. Like, do you want to bring, a kid into a crazy world?
mm-hmm.
But it's always been crazy. I
Yeah.
mean, you have to admit it. Like,
Yeah. I know.
yeah,
It's interesting for sure. And so I think we're kind of both on the same page where we're like,
kind of indifferent maybe. Is
yeah.
that how you
Yeah,
feel,
if it
or
were to happen, I think I would fully embrace it and I think we
yeah,
would both be great parents. But, as we said, it's not
it
just
just
going to happen and it's going to be
right?
something that we really have to make the
Plan
decision.
for and pay for. Although, I think one of the most interesting things about this whole situation is when we talk to friends, we've actually had, friends offer to be like
Our
our
surrogate. That
surrogate.
was not
And
something I was expecting to happen as frequently
yeah,
as it does, but in multiple occasions we've had friends just be like, "Well, I'll carry your baby," and they're serious about it, and I'm
but
like,
then again, do they know like which one of us would be like the donor? You know what I mean? Would that change
well,
things?
and that is
You know?
something that like it would have to be really thought out. And I
Yeah,
appreciate the notion. Like that is just a really generous offer that I just wasn't
yeah.
expecting people to do, but it has happened multiple times. But I mean, there is just a lot that goes into it. Like would they want to be a part of that kid's life? And
Right.
would we want them to be a part of that kid's
And would they
life?
have any kind of legal,
I
right to
know.
a child? It is very tricky, and
Yeah.
I'm
And
not a
if the
lawyer,
the
so I don't
child
know the
wanted
law.
to
But
meet their biological mother, like how do you handle that?
yeah,
And
it'd be like a sitcom. Like our life
yeah.
would literally be like a sitcom.
Right. And then would it be better to have a surrogate that you don't know just so that when the baby is born, then you don't
Have
like
to
it?
worry about like someone having like a last minute like change of heart. Like, oh
Right.
wow, I carried this child. You know.
And even just like being around the child, like,
Yeah.
will they,
How would they interact?
yeah, with the
Yeah.
child because they would know it is their child. But like, say we
Yeah.
invite them over to their birthday party when they turn 2 and then they try to, I don't know. It's just such
Yeah.
really something that we would have to discuss and talk
Yeah.
about. But where are you at as far as adoption?
I actually like the idea of adoption. Um, there's like a selfish part of me, I think, that wants to kind of help carry on genes, from
Hmm.
like my mom or me or whatever. And I'm sure maybe you feel the same way. But on the other hand, there are a lot of kids out there that are in probably a horrible situation with being in the foster care system.
Yeah.
Like, I'd have to stop and think like how blessed we really were to have stable families, and
Yeah.
it's just like not a struggle I understand, and there is some appeal to like, I don't know, you don't want to be like a savior, that's not the right word, but to like help someone
Hmm.
that's stuck in this like awful system, I
Yeah.
think could be rewarding too. But
Right.
it just, I don't know, it's still very hard,
Again, yeah, it's just like we're both so indifferent about it.
yeah.
If you came to me and you were like, I really want to have a child, I think I would be for it in
Hmm.
any situation, the fostering, adopting, or just having a surrogate. But I don't know. It's just,
Yeah, uh, it's a lot to consider, and at the end of the day, like you also have to factor in like our current emotions. Like a child would be like Pepper on crack, you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
her, like think about how annoyed we are when she wakes us up like one time, in the middle of the night. Like,
Dang,
hey
Pepper, you
Poochie.
interrupted our podcast. Exactly. We couldn't even have the
Yeah.
podcast with the kids running around.
I know. I feel like, you do sacrifice, your career, your free time, travel. Like, you have to factor in, like, that money that you would spend to have a more selfish maybe life. I don't know.
Yeah.
It would be, allocated towards the child, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that at
No.
all. But
Yeah.
it's just like, yeah, depending on the day, how do you feel about it?
So what kind of parent do you think you would be? Like in the dynamic? Would you be the strict one?
I probably would.
Yeah,
I
I think
think,
so.
and I think I mentioned this in our last podcast, but I am like kind of borderline probably OCD. No diagnosis, but I don't
like
know.
a very
Like
clean house.
I do, and I don't know if I could deal with that.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, and
it's
that's
like,
something that you need to factor in before you get in that and stress yourself out.
and you just gotta think, they're kids. You can't be mad, so I don't know. Like I would be worried. I think a little bit about how I might react. If something got messed up. Or
Yeah.
whatever.
I definitely think you would be the bad cop. I would come in clutch as the good cop and the fun one, and we would team up and.
I'd be fun.
No,
too.
you would be a blast.
Yeah. And as far as like strictness, it would really be more like that. Like I would say, ooh, there she goes, dodging all the cords.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as like being strict, I don't know. I had kind of like I don't know how you describe it. Not really like sheltered, not really too much freedom, but I had a lot of freedom as a kid, and I don't think I could see myself saying, no, you can't go out and do this, like,
Yeah.
I think I would be pretty relaxed in, that respect.
Yeah,
But
I'd like to think I'd be relaxed, but I feel like, I don't know. I feel like once I start looking into like what the kids are eating, what the kids are watching, I might be like, oh, I don't know. This isn't educational.
True. I guess I got to kind of do whatever I wanted when I was a kid, So
Yeah, and I had a pretty,
I turned out okay.
yeah, you did. I had a very, this dog is slinking around in the background. She's making me nervous.
What you doing, Poochie Head? Lay down, little girl.
She's exploring.
She
but
is.
no, I mean, I have 2 older brothers. We all hung out, played video games. It was a very normal childhood, and I don't know. It was, I don't know. I don't feel the need for carrying on the lineage because I do have some nieces and nephews.
Yeah.
So I understand that on your part.
And I do too, but for my half brother, so
Yeah.
a little bit different maybe in that respect too. But
Yeah.
also, yeah, your parents, their lives have kind of been fulfilled to an extent because both of your brothers have children. You
Yeah.
know, like they're getting
Full
to be the
grandparent
grandparent,
And they love it.
but again, we can't base it on what other people want of us.
I know. And but
but-
I do factor that in. Like I
You have
consider
to
your
an
parents
extent.
and
Yeah.
my parents, but it's like okay, at the end of the day it is our lives, it's what we want. But that's why I think it is healthy that we discuss this and it's not just been like a one-time conversation. It's ever evolving because you never know what might we just saw
One day we're thinking about names, like
Yeah.
if we had a boy or a girl, like
Exactly.
you know.
And we just visited with your cousin and her new baby, and
she
was
was
so
cute.
cute. So
Yeah.
of course gets
I know I love being the uncle too. Like I do love kids,
fun gay uncle.
but also when they start getting a little too much, it's like here you go, brother
Yeah,
or sis,
Yes, I know. The toddler age is a
Yeah.
blast. Teenagers.
Oof,
I haven't
they
had to
scare
deal
me.
with that yet, but we have
Yeah.
preteens.
I was
nephews.
oh yeah, just being a teenager once in my life, like it scares me the thought
Yeah.
of like being responsible for a teenager.
Yeah. But I do think
Yeah.
it would be interesting because there is part of me that wants to give a little bit of like my experiences and pass that on to a child because I think I would like to treat them like super understanding and not treat them so much like a child. Like I want to have these adult conversations with them when they're ready. Of course, we're
Right.
not gonna like at age 2 be like, this is how the voting system
Yeah.
works. But just like I don't know, help them grow and just
Yeah.
bond with them and have like your own best friend. I don't know. It'd be
Yeah.
really cool.
I think it'd be really cool to just see all the stages, as well, those milestones
Yeah.
and, their first steps and,
Yeah.
speaking and I don't know, depending on if we were to have like a baby versus adopting, I guess that
Right.
could be a difference, too. So
Yeah. So we're going to take our first break of the podcast really quick. And then when we come back, let's look up how much a surrogate costs.
okay.
Okay. Okay, we're back. So I'm going to look up how much it costs for surrogacy. What is your guess?
Ooh, I am thinking like more than 100K,
I'm thinking 80K.
80K.
Mm-hmm.
Should we give our listeners and
Yeah,
viewers
put
a
in the
chance?
comments what you
Yeah.
think. Which does a surrogacy cost? Whoa, okay. Surrogacy for single men starting at 45K.
Single men. What does
Right,
that
why
mean?
does that matter?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just a subtle jab.
The total cost, this is from circlesurrogacy.com, so you know it's official. No. The total cost of a surrogate ranges from $50,000 to $60,000, which includes base compensation and various benefits and expenses. The surrogate cost is a significant portion of intended parents' surrogacy expenses. So just paying for the mother to carry the child.
Yeah.
The total cost of a surrogate, including base compensation, can range from 50 to 90K.
Yeah.
But my question is there insurance on that? Like, if you pay it, do you pay up front, or is it like once the baby has become a baby? That is so.
I mean, at the end of the day, even, if they didn't go all the way through with it, like if
Something
God forbid
happens, yeah.
something happened, they've still carried a child for you,
Yeah.
for however long.
Yeah.
So yeah, it could be a scary thought.
Yeah.
But, okay, so while you've got your phone out,
Okay.
I really want to know, what is the average cost of raising a child to like age 18? Even though I think millennials and like the younger generations can probably attest that they're probably living with their parents for longer than age 18.
So I think so what is your guess before I Google?
I feel like it's got to be like, I mean, think about college alone.
I think I've heard before that it's $1 million.
Okay,
That you'll spend $1 million
Yeah.
over the time of birth to 18. The
Just
cost,
to 18, not even.
yeah. So mint.intuit.com says the cost of raising a child in 2022. The USDA estimates that parents can expect to pay between $15,000 and $17,000 a year raising a child in 2022. So what's 17 times 18?
You got to do it.
What's 17 times 18? I'm not a math person.
I don't do that kind of math.
So $306,000.
Okay. But that
Yeah,
can't be like factoring in college, and
Oh gosh.
other things like that. Especially like you never know where your child would want to go. I
So-
mean, they could be a very intelligent person and they could, get a full ride, or maybe they're like me and they, didn't really apply themselves, to that extent to try to like work for that.
What will you?
I don't know.
What will your thoughts be about higher education for your child? I definitely don't want to impress upon that college is
the
the
only-
end all be all.
Agree. Yeah.
You could go to community college.
Trade school, there are a lot of jobs that pay really well.
Yeah.
And
I do think-
services that people need. I
For
mean, we
sure.
can't all be behind a desk, like blue collar, looking at a computer screen all day.
Right. I do
or
think there
white
is going to
collar,
be a flip of, back in the day, it used to be easier to work your way up through a company without having a college degree. Now it's just kind of like a standard. You can't even
You
apply
have
unless
to.
you.
It's like
But
the
I
masters.
feel like there's gonna be a
maybe
flip.
it's like the new bachelor's almost.
I'm not sure, but I feel like soon it's just got that, like the way that college is so expensive and everyone's going. I feel like it's just going to be.
Watered down.
And there's so many
Yeah.
new startups. I feel like if I were to start a business, I mean, YouTube degree, like you could just
Yeah.
what you learn for your job, you weren't taught in college.
To some extent.
You were taught the
yeah.
fundamentals, but
Right. Yeah.
basically the first 6 months is you just learning your job. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
thinks that when you start your job, you have to
True.
know what you're supposed to do, and that's not the case.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I hope that more people put less emphasis on college. I know it, like I watched a TikTok the other day and it said that they, as an owner of a company, they do look for people that have college degrees because it shows that they are driven and it shows that they're disciplined enough to go to class and turn in the homework. So I get it from that perspective, but it shouldn't be
The
only way. Like if you didn't go, then you're eliminated from the job hunt.
Right. Yeah,
It's crazy.
it is wild. Like every single person on this planet, like we all started, maybe not on the same footing, but we all started, as a baby, and
Yeah.
like everyone develops skills over time too. So
And when we were in school, it was you have to go to college or
yeah,
you're not a successful graduate. But I don't think that's the case, and I wouldn't want my children to think that if they don't go, because a lot of people I know went to college for a year or two, didn't finish, and now have all this debt. Whereas if they just went and worked
yeah, they maybe could have worked
their way
themselves
up,
up through
or
a
just not
company
have all
or
this debt, and you don't
yeah.
have to make 80 to 90K to be happy. You can have your own life, and I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just
I
a
don't know. Maybe
crazy.
I'm a little bougie, but
You are a little bougie, but I mean, but I will say, coming on the other end of that, where I wasn't making money,
yeah.
it's very hard.
I didn't start with the highest salary either after
No.
college. Like even as a financial reporting staff accountant, I think I was making like 36K a year, which I thought was depressing.
Until you met me.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. So when I
that was-
was working in news, my first salary was 24,000 a year. I was making
Yeah.
about $10 or $11 an hour with a college degree, and I was signed into a multi-year contract. So I had to budget. Like, I don't think people realize that the people on your televisions like I was on TV making $10 an hour. I had my one suit, and I wore that whenever I needed to wear a suit. I had 5 dress shirts, and I just cycled through. And I remember I was doing a story, and I was talking to someone, and they were like, "Oh, you don't understand what it's like for us little people, and having all the expenses." And I'm like, "Oh, sir, you don't understand.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you." Like
Yeah.
it was tough.
Maybe even worse off.
Yeah, and
It's a big assumption. Like when we met, I had no idea like what your field paid. I mean, I didn't assume it to be as bad as it was for
know.
sure. I mean,
Going into college, they tell you don't make a lot of money in news, but
they didn't
that-
tell you how little.
yeah,
did they?
because I looked like there was a help wanted sign at Target, and it was paying more than I was making, and so I was like,
Wow.
this doesn't make sense to me.
Pathetic.
Pathetic. Yes, exactly. But I will say I was independent. I was living on my own.
You made it work, man.
I lived in
You
a
made it
very
work.
sketchy apartment. There was 3 shootings in the 1 year I lived there. There were a lot of people that were shot. And then they wanted to increase my rent, and I was like, I don't think that's how that works.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I found a really cheap place to live. I still drove my first car for like 5 or 6 years. I kept that thing going. It didn't have AC, but Pepper and I, we were thriving. We were surviving, not thriving.
Yeah, you were surviving for sure.
But I still appreciated the experiences that I had, and it got me a good start, and it introduced me to some incredible people, because Graham and I
Yeah.
kind of met through work. So,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
but yeah,
Yeah.
definitely the news industry is not all it's cracked up to be.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get some of my news industry friends on here to talk some
We
stories,
need like
because
a whole episode.
we
like,
gotta do a
even,
whole
like, the
season.
Yeah. How long were you at after we met? For like a year and a
We're
half?
gonna have to bleep that out.
Oh,
How long?
with
Well,
the news, sorry.
yeah. So
How
we'll-
long were you at the news station, like, after we met?
after we met?
Yeah, like, when we met, how much longer did you
I
work
think.
in the industry?
Just like a year and a half.
Okay.
So
Okay, that's about right. I learned a lot about that industry over a year and a half. Like,
Yeah.
not even just from you, but
from my
from
friends.
like friends and coworkers that I got to meet, and I don't know, I got to do some fun things. Like I got to ride along a couple times.
I would take
and-
Graham with me, because at the time I was
Yeah.
working from home when the pandemic was going on. So I had they like gave me all my camera equipment, so I was doing a lot of like live shots and stuff from the house, and so he
Yeah.
would watch all that unfold. He would.
I
watch
have it
me-
on the TV like
Yeah.
while you were outside, and I guess a couple times or one time I sat on the couch. You remember when Pepper was on the news? She
Yeah.
made her canine debut of her lovely self.
Yeah, so I was, you heard me trying to make those desperate calls, trying to get someone to
yeah.
go on camera. That's 99% of my job, was just calling people and begging them to
Yeah.
tell their story on.
Okay, but do you know what's really cool about that for me?
Hmm.
So I would be working in my office, and yeah, he would be making those calls. And a lot of times he would be leaving voicemails, and like I hadn't memorized the phone number in probably like well over a decade, which is random because like
Well, you don't
you
need to
know you don't
anymore.
need to anymore, I guess. But I started off life, when I was younger, like you
Memorizing
had
it.
to memorize your parents' phone number. I had my grandma's phone number memorized, in case I needed anything. We even had this like phone, like telephone line that you would call, and it would tell you like the time and temperature. And I had that memorized too. But yeah, other than that,
So you
like
memorized my
I
number?
memorized your number because I heard it so much, and
Yes,
like
I
it was
had
kind
like
of
a
cool to just like, because you don't even have the same area code as me, so like I
no.
had to learn like an extra 3 digits.
Yeah, I had like a sing song thing because I would leave literally like eight
Yeah.
or nine voicemails a day. I would just call, leave me, call me back,
Mm-hmm.
blah blah blah. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I got over the fear of calling people. I can call you up. I will put you on the spot. I got really good. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a very passive person. I'm very go with the flow. But when I was a reporter, completely different person. I was
Mm-hmm.
very pushy. If I wanted something, I needed it because the pressure. Every day I had to get a good story to air by the end of the day. So it was like having a final exam every day. And it was energizing, it was fun, but there
But there
was
was no reward for it. I
no.
mean, if
Yeah.
you're like struggling to pay your bills, or you're having to like live like below your means in like an unsafe area, like that's not cool.
Yeah. And so how it
Yeah.
works is you go to a smaller city, you sign a contract, you work out your contract, and then you move to a bigger city. But the issue is you move to a more expensive city, so yes, you'll make a little bit more, but it still
Does
isn't.
it, yeah, balance out.
I interviewed, I was a finalist for it was between me and one other person for a job in Portland, Oregon. And
I
it's
would have
an
probably
expensive,
followed him to
yeah,
Portland.
it's an expensive city to live in,
Yeah.
and I think they were offering it was 36,000.
Oh, in Portland?
I know, and then so I'm like, okay, I would
How?
still be in the same
Yeah, if
situation,
not
just in a more,
worse.
yeah.
Probably worse,
hmm
honestly.
So I
Yeah.
was just like, this is just not
Like I said, I
conducive.
was complaining about 36K here,
hmm
where we're at now, which I guess, eventually got me this house, but I was strapped,
Yeah,
like one entire paycheck would go to like all the bills, and you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I grew up with a very certain lifestyle,
yeah,
nothing too crazy, but
yeah.
I still, yeah.
And so I eventually moved in here and I was helping out and I still help out with
Yeah,
rent, but I just felt like, why am I
we got you
working
into
like
air conditioning.
yeah, I got an air conditioned house for the
Yeah,
first time.
and a stove we can't use. You
Yeah,
guys can see it in the back.
yeah.
We gotta
Um,
fix that.
but yeah, I was just like, I am working myself to the bone and I was not seeing the payoff. So I just kind of jumped
Yeah.
ship and I was stressing myself out. Like there were so many days that I would come home sobbing
Yeah.
because I was just not moving up like I had hoped and I was getting to run around on things. And
Yeah.
so there was just one point I think I came home and I was like, I just can't do this anymore. And I started crying and
Yeah.
you were very supportive and I just started looking and found a much
Yeah.
more fulfilling career and it allows me to like live the lifestyle I want to do, which is
Yeah.
not be or have air conditioning. That was a big
Yeah.
goal of mine. So
It's cool, yeah. Like, even though we are like kind of attached at the hip, we still like live our own, independent lives, and
mhm.
like pay our own bills and stuff too, which is cool. But I remember I told you, like if you're really this stressed about it, like if you need to get out of there, get out of there. I'll be here. Like
Yeah,
I've
that
been, like I was really comfortable on my own, like bill wise, like even before we met, once I moved up in my career,
yeah.
moved on to a different company, because I honestly, I kind of went through a similar situation. It felt like the company I used to work for, really loved it. I, got promoted several times, but it felt kind of predatory too, like for young kids, like out of college, like we'll hire you even though you have no experience, but we're not going to pay you like
Yeah.
what, the market is worth for this role. And they worked us to death too.
Yeah. And
So that was pretty rough.
and
But
it was such a horrible situation because I felt very trapped because I signed a contract and I had to
yeah,
pay a large sum of money if I wanted to quit early.
Yeah,
And
that is
then,
sickening.
so I had
That
to like
should be
wait.
illegal.
I had to wait for the timing to work out that I could quit, but not be without a job. And so it was just a lot of tap dancing, and I, couldn't afford to quit early. So I felt like miserable, and I
Yeah,
couldn't. And I had this conversation with a friend recently, and she was like, "Well, why didn't you just try to get yourself fired?" And
that's worse, right?
well, the
I mean,
mental
you don't want.
gymnastics at the
Yeah,
time, I didn't know if I really wanted to leave news. So
yeah,
I still had to go in every day and give it my all, because when you apply for another job, one of the things that they do is they'll look at the last 5 stories you did. So when you apply for a job, of course you have what's called a demo reel. So you clip together your best pieces so that you look the best, you've done some really interesting stories. But what they'll also do is to be like, they also know that that is the best of the best, but let's see how you are consistently.
true.
So the day that they like maybe look you up, they'll just go back the 5 last stories you did just to see if you're consistent, or were those just some crazy stories that were flukes for you.
It's
So
kind of almost not fair though if you think about it. Like you could have like a very boring week.
yeah,
Like maybe there's nothing super exciting.
right.
Although I was blown away by your creativity and
Thank
just
you.
like the way you could turn multiple stories, and it was cool like getting to like witness that firsthand, like
Yeah.
seeing how you work.
Yeah,
It's
it
very
was
cool. Like that is insane, like the amount of skill and time management. Like that was a really like busy,
yeah.
overworked job.
Yeah,
Like
so
I
I
still
ended up
am like just in shock.
I worked my way up to the evening show. That's like the most viewed, the 10 o'clock show. So I would come in at 2 p.m., which also sucked because I would lay around all morning while you were at work, and I would just like play on my phone and figure out stories. And I would work from 2 to 11 at night.
Which sucked.
Yeah, it
But
was not very fun.
yeah.
And then, so normally you just like get one main story and one side story, but my boss realized that I could turn stories very quickly. So a lot of times for the first 4 hours of the day, I would get a story ready for the early shows at 6 o'clock. And then immediately after the 6 o'clock show, they'd be like, okay, find a completely new story. And then I'd have to like not
It's-
eat, not take a lunch break or dinner break, and just like
Yeah.
start the next one. And I was making myself sick. Like I remember there was one day I was out in a cornfield and I was trying to upload my story. So I was like in my car and I had it all filmed and
BFE.
edited with the nice little bow. And so I was trying to send it up to the news station so they could get my video. And the Wi-Fi was not good enough, and it was like, not moving forward. And I was screaming and cursing, and I was punching my steering wheel because I was so stressed, because it's like,
it's
you know,
like, yeah,
computer-
because what happens if you don't get it in? Then
Right.
it just looks bad on you, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, you
even though
wasted
it's
this
like
whole day.
completely not,
it was out of my
in your
control.
control. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
just felt so much pressure because I wanted to do those stories and be the best. But yeah, well,
Yeah.
and also computer stuff will stress anyone out
Oh,
when your
yeah.
computer's going slow. But it's just like, like, oh,
Yeah.
the time is ticking every second. There'd be sometimes I would turn a story like 2 minutes before I would go live. So it's just
Yeah.
like, I don't have time for this.
I'm giggling right now because my family, we had like usually we had like the best technology and stuff, but for the longest time we were like still using Windows 98, like even though I don't know if XP was out, but I don't know. I just remember like being frustrated with technology as a kid. Like my brother and I would play like RuneScape and stuff. I think I've mentioned that. But like we would get so mad when that computer would start lagging. Like we'd be out in the wild, like, trying to kill people, and like then it would freeze, and we would just be like smacking like
Yeah.
but you'd have to like reach down, to do it because it was like a desktop.
Yeah.
Yeah, technology, oof, it can be crazy, but
Yeah, but it was a wild ride. I want to get some, as I said, some of my old reporter friends, because you saw we had
Yeah.
some crazy stories happen that it's just fun to see like how those things ended up the way that they did.
and where a lot of your friends ended up too. Like
Yeah.
I would say you probably have more friends that are out of the industry than are in now at this point,
Oh,
right?
for sure. I think
Yeah.
the industry is in trouble as a whole, just because they don't pay people, and now that it's so glamorous to just be
Yeah.
on TikTok or YouTube, where you could work your way up making more than $10 an hour pretty
Yeah.
easily, as opposed to going to school and
Yeah.
battling it out to make money for someone else.
And like people these days, we want our stuff, including news, now. Like
Mhm.
just instant, We don't want to wait until 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock to tune in,
Exactly.
And we canceled our TV.
Oh yeah,
we're
we were
saving
paying
some money.
so much.
Yeah, it's insane.
and I
guys.
was not a big TV person.
Yeah, I was before I met you. Maybe not huge, but like after I'd like get off work and go to the gym and get home, like I like to unwind with
Yeah.
couple episodes of whatever I was watching, at the time. But
But I mean, I do watch TV, but I watch Netflix.
yeah,
and
we're big Netflix people.
Now we're in reality TV,
Yeah.
and we're watching Survivor. And I had never
Yeah.
watched that growing up, and
I hadn't seen it
obsessed.
in decades, probably. Like
I want to be on Survivor.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh, God.
speaking it into existence. I just can't do the food. I can't eat gross
Ooh,
things.
when they were eating like termites the other, I like had to walk away. I was full on.
I think termites would be
bad.
fine. I couldn't eat that like maggot or whatever.
Ew, yeah, that like grub.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that thing was nasty
Yeah,
too.
but the camping and the fire starting and the challenges and the deceptiveness,
Oh, but-
I could flip it like a switch.
I guess you're tougher than I am. Like
I-
I could not do it. I'm just gonna be clear. Like I
Yeah.
don't think I'm cut out for it. I'd be
I think
grouchy. I'd be tired. Like
So if you were
I wouldn't
on,
want to deal without like product in my hair.
so if you could be on a show, what would you pick?
Ooh,
Like, what would be your strength?
the circle.
circle,
The
yeah.
circle. Yeah.
So if you
I
don't
feel like I
know-
could pull off, the ooh, he's cute. Like
Yeah.
I could kind of play off that and go in as like a single guy.
Oh,
But I
really?
would bring
You'd
you.
let all the
I would
the people
bring
flirt.
I would bring him like although we've kind of talked about this, so would we if we went into the circle
So
together?
The
Yeah.
Circle is a reality show on Netflix where it's all about social media, and you create a profile, and it can either be your actual profile or just something that you
Pictures, yeah.
think will be the most popular. And
and
the
you want to
objective
get
is
to the end.
yeah, the objective is to not have anyone vote you out because they enjoy having you around.
You want to
so-
be the influencer.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
feel like the ticket to get on the show, I feel like, is if I was like a former reporter, I feel like they
Yeah.
would lean into that shtick because
That could be
they
cool,
all like
too.
the people that have a story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would
And
rather
you have some great photos of like you like riding horse and
Yeah.
like kayaking down like a flooded road.
but I would want to use your pictures because,
Oh,
of course,
yeah.
you've got like the model face and
But
everything.
I don't have pictures of me with a mic stand. And, like,
Exactly.
there are no stories.
Exactly. But
But yeah.
yeah, it would definitely. I think we would be well on that one. But
Yeah.
Survivor sounds more fun.
We could take some fake photos, right? Like
Yeah, we
make
could
it look
Photoshop.
legit.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we're flying through these
Yeah,
episodes now.
Do we need to check the camera?
No, I think it's going. So I think
So
we
no.
can wrap this up. I think we've been going for 40 minutes.
Do you
so
want any like one last take? Has your mind changed at all about kids? After we've kind of switched up the topics.
Well, you left me hanging, so I gotta
Sorry.
give it.
Oh, I'm
okay.
sorry. My
Thank
bad.
you.
I was gonna give you one after we were done.
Okay. Okay. Sorry again. The thing cut off, but you said 90-10 with
90
kids.
10. Yeah. We were talking about financial stability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's big with me. And
Me too, honestly. Like
Kids
no
are
one wants to
expensive.
strap themselves, but yeah. And I don't know. I know we're kind of going back into another former topic, but the big move coming in, a year and a half or whenever that happens, like I feel like we're going to be in a different spot,
Mhm,
Hopefully I'll
more
get a
expensive city. But
Hopefully
yeah.
I'll get a promotion. I'm gonna work really hard this year, and hopefully I can get to the next level for
Yeah.
sure. But
Maybe we could get some sponsors on this
yeah,
podcast.
right.
Help us afford to live in a more expensive city.
yeah, and we're still in the Midwest. Isn't that insane?
Yeah,
Like
everything
if you,
has just gotten so expensive.
I'd love to live in San Diego or somewhere beautiful like that, but
It's so expensive.
I don't know.
I don't know how
It just-
anyone affords
I don't
things
know
like
how
that.
they afford it either. Like my cousin we were talking about, her and her husband, like she told me that their house they bought was maybe a little bit bigger than our house. Main level only. They don't have basements there. So like their house is like $1 million.
Yeah.
I just like I would probably get sick if I like signed a 30-year loan like to pay that much.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like
Yeah, it
especially
depends on
with
the
like
area. But also,
it
we live in the
does.
Midwest. I will not live in a place without a basement. We did a
Yeah.
lot of storm chasing, and that was like my biggest fear. I have a lot of anxiety about tornadoes and storms, so basement is a necessity.
Yeah, I was very much teased when I was a kid. I was so terrified of tornadoes. I think my dad and I went and saw the original Twister movie, but I'd been scared of him before that. But I think that did nothing but make me more freaked out.
Yeah.
And like every year, I'm a May baby, and it seemed like every year when we would go celebrate my birthday, there would be a tornado warning. Like it would be out of nowhere, you know,
Yeah.
and like I would like get physically sick. Like I could not eat because I was so worried, you
Mhm.
know, and I would like pack a little tornado bag, you know, I'd
Yeah.
throw like pictures and like Hot Wheels and Pokemon cards, you know, all that stuff in a bag, and I'd like go hide out in the basement by myself. Oh my God, my family, they still give me so much crap about that.
Oh, I
But
bet.
do you want to know the wildest thing?
What?
I remember
You
actually
gotta stop. Every time you
sorry.
clap, I'm sure it's picking up on the audio, but
Sorry.
keep going. Sorry.
I remember the turning point of what traumatized me about tornadoes. And I was at my grandma's house, kind of a nice spring day from what I remember. And it's weird. Like, I had to have been like pre-kindergarten. Like, I don't think I was in school. But I was out back at her house swinging on the swing set. And out of nowhere, like, these black clouds just kind of like rolled in. And I can still see in my mind's eye my uncle running down the hill, like, towards the swing set, and he went in a big loop, and he was saying, "Tornado, tornado!" Like, but no sirens were going off or anything, but I was swinging so high and so fast that I could not stop myself.
Oh my gosh.
And then, like, oh my God, my grandma, she would scream at, like, my mom and my uncles, like, to quit teasing me, you know? And then, like, they had the nerve to get mad at me for my whole life when I
For
was
being freaked out.
scared, you know?
Some childhood trauma right there.
Yeah, big childhood
divulging
trauma.
all that. Well,
But yeah, so, yeah. I'd still
tornadoes are
pick,
not fun.
I'd pick Tornado Alley, though, I think. Like, to some extent, like, earthquakes freak me out more.
Yeah. just
And
'cause they're
like
unpredictable.
I don't think I could do like Florida, you know, it seems cool, muggy. I don't really like the heat, but like hurricanes,
Mm-mm.
I couldn't do that. That's like a tornado, like times
A
20,
million,
you know, or
yeah.
a million or whatever. And
Yeah.
I don't know, everywhere else it's like the places I like, it's like they're prone to like sweeping forest fires, or I don't know.
There's pros and cons.
Pros
to
and cons
everywhere.
everywhere, but
Yeah.
I feel like the U.S. gets a lot of extreme weather too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is the perfect spot to live in the U.S.?
For
Like,
someone
you
with
guys gotta tell us
severe
below.
weather anxiety.
Yeah.
Well, I think that should do it for episode 3.
Wow. We did it. I'm not gonna leave you hanging this time,
Thank you,
bro.
thank you. We're cruising, bro.
Bro.
We're cruising through these. Again, like, subscribe, comment what you want us to talk about,
Yeah.
what you're liking, what you're not liking. Just kidding. Don't tell us what you don't like.
If you need a rag on like our lighting, or like
I'm
me
working
like
on it,
moving
guys.
in my seat, or I
Or
guess
clapping your
clapping
hands.
my fingers together.
Yeah, I think that's getting picked up. We're working on it. It's all,
Yeah.
or just my main plan with this is to just stay consistent, keep it going. Don't get discouraged if it's
Yeah.
not picking up, but we're just gonna keep going.
We like to talk anyway. I think it would be
It's like
fun
a
to
weekly check-in.
Yeah, and I think it would be fun, you know, when we're gray and fading, you know, like it'd be really cool to like look back at this,
Oh,
you know,
for
and
sure.
see like that moment in time,
And
like
hearing
just
our
like
thoughts.
forever out there, and like yeah, just seeing ourselves like thinking, wow, like that's where I was at that point in my life, you know,
When we're 80 and we're like, do you want
Yeah.
kids? How are you feeling? What
Yeah.
percentage do you want of kids?
yeah, I'd be like, yeah,
I want
change
to
my
be
diaper.
I want us to be the gay Rhett and Link from
and
Good Mythical Morning. Oh, we'll have to educate you.
Oof, yeah, I don't know. Am I too old for that?
No, they've been around for like they're YouTube OGs, but they have a podcast every day. Good Mythical Morning. Tune into that. It's really awesome. They just talk about
You plugging other people now.
yeah. Hey,
Maybe they'll plug us sometime, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I'll watch you if you watch us. How
yeah.
about that?
There you go. Well, thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you.